If you're trying to read the tea leaves about who might be running for president in 2028, there are some clues in the speaker lineup at the National Action Network convention. Almost a dozen potential Democratic candidates are speaking directly with leaders and voters in the Black community, including former Vice President Kamala Harris, who sat down with National Action Network president and MS Now host Reverend Al Sharpton. The audience greeted her with this chant. Run again. Some people even jumping to their feet. You saw them doing that. And when she was asked if she will run again, well, wasn't exactly a hard no.
Listen, I might. I'm thinking about it. But let me say this. Let me say this. I am thinking about it. I think that, look, the American people have a right to expect that anyone who wants to run for office and be a leader, that it can't be about themselves. And what they want for themselves, it's got to be about the American people. And that's how I think of it. And I am thinking about it in the context of then, you know, is who and where and how can the best job be done for the American people? That's how I'm thinking about it. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted.
I want to bring in MS Now's Maya Eglin, who was in that room. Juanita Tolliver, MS Now political analyst, award-winning author of A More Perfect Party, and host of the Archival podcast. Philip Bump is senior data editor and columnist at the CT Insider. Juanita, how does she get from thinking about it to yes?
I mean, Chris, she's already doing more than thinking about it by speaking at the National Action Network convention, which we know focuses on Black activists, Black organizers, Black leaders who are politically engaged. Even in a week or two, she's going to Michigan to speak to women voters in that state. So let's be real. While Vice President Harris says that she's thinking about it, she's explicitly taking actions to make sure that door is wide open for her to walk through, because she's speaking to the people who she hopes would likely establish the foundation of a presidential campaign. She's speaking to the people who would back her in fundraising, back her in volunteer work, back her in amplifying her message. And based on the reception you showed, Chris, they're open to her running. They are clearly encouraging it.
Well, Maya, you were in that room and you could see and feel the energy even from here. Having said that, were there certain policy points, a certain message that really resonated beyond I'm thinking about it?
Chris, I have to tell you, there were a lot of people who were very animated about Harris saying that she was considering this run. But other things she spoke about that also got some excitement, just the disappointment in the war and how President Trump has been handling that, how challenging it's been to afford food, gas, groceries for so many Americans right now. She also spoke a lot about the importance of international policy and the damage that has been done by President Trump and how long it's going to take to repair a lot of those relationships. Take a listen to another part of her speech with Rev Al Sharpton that got a lot of reaction.
I heard friends in the room say, he lied. He lied. He told the American people on day one he was going to bring down prices and costs. And he lied. You look at it, though, what he has done is instead of taking care of the average everyday folk in America around their need for affordability, he'd been taking care of his rich friends and his own family.
Harris said that she's been traveling around the country talking to voters and that she realized that they want progress, not process. Her call to action for the audience here: check your voter registration status, check the voting location, make sure that things haven't changed, and don't wait till the day before, the week before, to make sure that you and your community are ready to vote in the midterms. Chris.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of it, isn't it, Philip? I mean, obviously, one is the message of affordability. And we know, and we've talked about for months and months and months, how critical that is looking ahead to the midterms as well as the presidential. But wow, the energy also that they're going to need around protecting people's rights to vote are going to be crucial as well. I wonder what you heard as you see and hear the reporting from inside that room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a few different aspects here. There's the question of whether or not the former vice president runs again. I think people should remember that when she first became the Democratic candidate in 2024, there's a huge amount of energy behind that. There was sort of after the 2024 election, there was a sort of shift in the way in which her candidacy was assessed, that she had failed and Donald Trump was inevitable and yada, yada, yada. And I think that fails to capture what actually happened in the middle of the year. But I also think that part of that was simply a reaction to the left and opponents of Donald Trump in particular really feeling as though they suddenly had a candidate that could stand against Donald Trump. They weren't particularly enthusiastic about Joe Biden, a lot of them. And I think that's the energy of this moment. I think that's the reason that a lot of these Democrats are starting to get into the mix for 2028 is because there's a lot of energy on the left, primarily in opposition to Donald Trump, not necessarily around the party, but in opposition to the sitting president. And so this is sort of a strike while the iron is hot moment, I think, for a lot of these folks coming into the midterms, which will be the first chance American voters have at the federal level to weigh in on Donald Trump's presidency. There's a lot of energy on the left. And so I think a lot of these candidates are trying to tap into that.
Juanita, Reverend Sharpton's daughter noted that to her, there seemed to be a lot of enthusiasm for Congressman Ro Khanna, for Governor Josh Shapiro. Khanna did confirm he's considering a presidential run. I wonder if you're weighing a major decision like this, how much does a room like that or the conversations you have behind the scenes tell you at this very early stage?
I mean, Chris, you should consider it a test run. So I'm watching everything that these potential 2028 contenders are saying as they're beta testing how they want to present to the nation. They're beta testing how they want to present to different voter demographic groups. And so I think we should keep following and listening to them, because something that, for example, Governor Shapiro and Governor Pritzker did explicitly well at National Action Network conferences, talk about how they took on Donald Trump, how they fought him for resources that the Trump administration tried to take away from their states, how they took on the Trump administration in terms of ICE deployments in their states and won in court cases. I think Josh Shapiro said he challenged Trump administration 23 times in court and has won every single case. That type of showing their work is absolutely going to be resonant with voters across the country who are upset with how this administration is behaving. And I think they have to show that across a range of issues. I just mentioned immigration. They also need to show that in terms of Trump's policies related to tariffs, Trump's policies related to this war that he's taking without congressional authorization. Like, there are plenty of ways for these candidates to show their work in taking on Donald Trump and presenting their positive vision for beginning to untangle a lot of the issues created by Trump and Republicans. I'm thinking about how Donald Trump stands up and says, oh, we only have money for war. We don't have money for daycare. We don't have money for Medicaid. We don't have money for Medicare. Investing in those programs at this moment, you talk about striking while the iron is hot, committing to investing in them absolutely is something that's going to resonate with voters who have been showing in these special elections that they are angry and upset with how their lives are being impacted by the Trump administration and the policies of Republicans.
Philip, we're 207 days from the midterms. So as we're getting this sense of who's starting to position themselves for 2028, I ran into Congressman and Kingmaker Jim Clyburn this morning in the halls here. I told him that some Democrats were talking to me about 14 potential candidates getting into the Democratic race. And his response was, let's get through this year. Understandable. But how competitive is this going to be as a presidential for Democrats?
I think it'll be tremendously competitive, honestly. I mean, yes, you do have some big names already. You have the former vice president who's already been on the ballot. You have Governor Gavin Newsom. You have Pete Buttigieg, who served in the Biden administration. You have these people that are known. But you also are operating in a moment where the Democratic Party is not particularly beloved even by Democrats, right? And so being a party functionary, being someone that's been close to the party and close to the party leadership, that's not necessarily going to be the advantage in 2028 that it has been in the past. You know, it used to be the case that the party sort of helped steer where things were going. I don't think the party has the juice to do that, particularly at this point in time. That may change, but, I think it's sort of a different landscape now than it has been in the past. And that may mean that it's a more wide open field. There may be candidates jumping into the mix who don't really have that same sort of traditional political background, who nonetheless finds a significant level of support. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen big fields before. 2016 was a really big field that we saw Bernie Sanders do unexpected relatively well in, right? And that was even before this era sort of emerged. I think 2028 is going to be similarly very big, with the possibility that some outsider could come in and do better than people expect.